So we are reading about this eight chakra, and then last time we covered the aspects of surrender, correct? So this aspect of surrender is something we really need to understand from an aspect. Surrender is not giving up control. Many people misunderstand surrender is something like that. And surrender is not giving up our responsibility as well. It is not giving up. Surrender is not giving up anything at all. So that we should understand very clearly. Otherwise, it becomes a very, what should I say, mechanical, emotional aspect of connection rather than a very matured spiritual way of approaching this higher essence, right? So, in fact, on our Tuesday session, I was reading about this quote from Luke 9:23. I'll read it again. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves. Take up their cross daily and follow me. The same thing is reflected even in this writing here. If you see, this is understandable since the ego needs to latch on to something for its survival. So this is, it's a very interesting aspect, okay? Because here on one side, the mind or the ego is looking for some identity. And your experience as a meditator, as you are connecting with their inner essence, does not with this identification of the external ego, external mind, external oriented mind, right? So it is trying to sublimate, I mean, the refinement of the ego, the process of the refinement of the ego is nothing but the process of surrender. So that's why Lord Jesus is saying, deny yourself, means deny all the identities which you are creating and come to the real identity, which is the truth, the real essence, the real God within. Right? So the teaching is there in every system. The teaching is no different from what we are learning in heartfulness versus any other teachings, any other system teachings. But the process of refining, how do we refine? How do we get there? I think heartfulness lays out a very clear and simple and easy to follow steps. So here there is no room for any belief, any misunderstanding, or any room for any dogma to develop. But somehow we manage to get that deviate. We want to use our emotion because emotion is the least investment, and that's why we tend to connect with the master or connect with the divine essence with lot of emotion. And because we are using so much emotion, and then we have to basically, we don't know how to prove that emotion, so then we get prejudiced about what we are doing. Oh, my meditation system is the best. Why? Because I'm putting so much emotion into it. Otherwise, we'll never claim anything best. We'll just practice and see the value in it by ourselves without any emotion, without any this unnecessary bells and whistles. We must, like I said, every system must prove to the follower. But we don't that proof from the system. We don't demand that practice. Instead, we simply use emotion and then we get prejudiced about it. Okay. So it's very important to understand this aspect of surrender correctly. All right. So before I move to the next topic, any questions, comments? Okay. All right. So the conditions experienced at the eighth chakra. I'm not sure we finished it, but let's read it out again. So by the time you are at the eighth chakra, many noticeable changes occur. Some of the most important are synchronicity becomes routine. So some of you may notice deeper synchronicity with your surroundings. You may be pondering a question and the answer appears in the book you are reading. You think of someone from distant past and they drop you a note. You wish something well for a family and it happens. Such synchronicities have occurred before too, but now they occur very so often that you stop wondering about them. They become such a routine affair that you rely on them. You get into a rhythm of waiting for a hint or a sign, and sure enough, it shows up. It's one of the way it's one of the ways that surrender expresses itself in your behavior. So a lot more can be said about this topic, but it would be better to experience how synchronicity manifests in daily life and guides you. See, this synchronicity is something we need to understand. See, it's all about everything, anything happening to us, happening around us, is something which we are all manifesting, whether we are meditators or not. Yesterday, someone posed a very interesting question. What if the entire world, all of the people, everyone is meditating? How does the world look like? It's a very interesting question. And uh, when this question came to me, I was thinking about in my own way to answer it. But last night, just before I went to sleep, I was looking at a Facebook post, and someone asked Chariji, our previous teacher of heartfulness, Chariji. He was asked the same question: what if everyone is meditating in the world? Then Chariji's immediate response was, the life is a spectrum, many facets, not everything. If there is only white color in the world, how does the world look like? So bland, no variation. So the nature demands variation. Nature demands different ways of approaching this life. Not everybody can be doing heartfulness practice. Even within the heartfulness practice, everyone is different. Everyone has a different understanding. Everyone has a different approach to it. Okay. So I'm not saying everyone is at a different level, but everyone has a different approach to it. Each individual. I was jokingly, said some time back that there are as many heartfulness systems as many people who are practicing this. Each one has a different approach. And that's how it should be. Each one brings a new flavor to it. So, even in the meditation systems, there are different meditation systems, different religions, different approaches for the same goal. And that's how it should be. Each one adds a new flavor. Every time I open the Bible, I learn something new. Every time I read Bhagavad Gita, I learn something new. So that's why this making it one into a single system is a very wrong approach to begin with, right? So that's why the we have to evolve into this and accept all the colors, all the differences, all the theologies, philosophies, whatnot. Everything adds some value to our life and take it and move on. Why everyone has to think the same way, think alike? Then the fun of life, we lose it. The flavor of life, we lose it, right? So, so going back to the synchronicity, so each one is manifesting this life differently, and we have a collective consciousness manifesting the whole thing. So the when we are a meditator, when we reach those subtle states, the manifestation becomes from a different level. So, in fact, in one of the statements, I don't know exactly, I should have um, got that statement from Daji, and Daji said, a meditator manifests their life. So we should develop that capacity and mold our life in such a way that it becomes a very harmonious, and that's what harmony is here, the synchronicity. When I'm in harmony, I'm manifesting the harmony around me and inside me and outside me, right? So the relationship with the guru. I've observed that in Asian countries and other parts of the East, it is common for families to have a spiritual teacher. They may have a photo of the teacher in their household and follow their teachings. The main focus is on the teacher. On the other hand, in the West, there is a greater emphasis on the teaching itself. So, with the Western mind, evaluating, assessing the teachings before focusing on the teacher. Despite these differences, the goal remains the same, the spiritual growth. In heartfulness way, by the time you arrive at the eighth chakra, you may have spent years, possibly decades, with the practice. So by now, spiritual anatomy project becomes a top priority for you. You also develop an authentic curiosity about the guru. So beyond the person and the physical presence, you are keen to comprehend the guru as a principle. This idea helps one think of the guru as a guiding energy or as an inspiration. So here we need to understand the aspect of the teacher, what we call the guru, in two ways. The physical existence of a teacher, the living master, what we call the living guru, living teacher, provides certain guidance, through speech, through his own life, and in many ways. But now the principle is something different. When we get attached to the principle, how do you get attached to the principle? That principle becomes the identity. Just like Jesus said, throw your identity and develop this real essence. Pick up the cross. His cross is referring to as the God's identity, divine identity. So when you develop the divine identity, then it doesn't become a mere form or a person or a characteristics of the person or how he talks, how he behaves. All these things become secondary. Then what we attach to is that real essence, the real identity. Once we are connected with this real identity, the inspiration develops from within. Now the external guidance also turns within. So that's a very important aspect one should understand. This when Guru as a principle and Guru as a person, right? So the idea that represents the highest potential human consciousness. This principle is the highest potential. And where is this principle? Principle cannot be external, it is always within. Very anything which is omniscient, omnipotent, everywhere has to be within. Like I always ask this question, gravity is everywhere on earth. But where do you feel the gravity? Wherever you are. I cannot say gravity is in China or India or Timbuktu, wherever. I feel the gravity where I stand because this is an omniscient principle which is present everywhere, right? And this omniscience go into such an extent. I was listening to one interesting story by Russell Burton, The Dream of Theosophian. And the story goes like this, this guy is dreaming that he's dead and he's at the gates of the heaven. And these gates of the heaven are so wide and so huge. And he starts knocking on the door on the gate to open, but he felt that no one is hearing it. And he waits there for days and months. And then a small window opens on this big door, large door, and some eyes were peeking out. And he tries to look into that eyes, and it's so brilliant, so bright, he couldn't look into it. He says, oh God, I have been waiting here for so long. Please open the doors." And the guy from the other side responds, "I'm not the God, I'm just the gatekeeper here. I'm just the God here." Okay, so can you inform God? I have been the Pope on this earth. I've helped so many people believe in you, and help them to, develop devotion, faith in you, and all that stuff. I'm so and so from the earth. Please open the gates and inform the God that I am here. You see, our identity with all the things we are doing makes us so small. And this guy says, "Okay, where are you from?" He says, "I'm from the earth." And the guy asks from the other side, "Which earth? What do you mean, which earth?" According to the heavens, there are as many suns, as many stars. Each star has some life associated with it, or the earth associated with it. So, which star you belong to? And this guy has no answer. He doesn't know how to answer. He says, "All my scriptures, all my books have said there is only one earth and there is only one God." And the other side respond, maybe, from you have a very narrow approach to this. There's so many. And how do I give your identity to the God? And this guy is no answer. He wakes up frantically and he thinks about it. So all the pride of, having that belief and faith in the God shatters. He realizes that the essence is within, the identity is within. And then, his journey begins. You see how this goes? So we have to understand these aspects, from a very humble, open, and very approachable mind. And that is what the synchronicity again means. So we have to kind of grow into something which we have to leave all these identities. If I say, "Oh, I am a heartfulness trainer for 30 years," it doesn't mean anything. Even Chariji at the fag end of the life, he said, "I'm still in the kindergarten of spirituality." If a guy of that stature can say that, and what this that I can claim for myself, right? So it's very important to develop that humility, develop that, real essence. Okay. So I'll stop for any comments, questions here before we can read the next one paragraph at the most, and then we can get into meditation. Okay. Everyone is quiet. So, a refined flavor of peace. In contrast to the seventh chakra, at the eighth chakra, power loses its charm. One realizes the difference between power and source of the power. See, this is all about humility, if you understand here. So, with the greatness of the source imprinted in one's heart, it brings one to a special flavor of peace. Think of the freshness a person walking in the blazing sun would feel after a bath in the cool waters of a river. So, the flavor of peace at the eighth chakra rejuvenates you with its freshness. You see, right? I mean, until the seventh chakra, it's all about the power. Because the association with the external mind and external ego, the ego is refining as its ego is always thinking about control. That control is nothing but the power. Most of the yogic systems, especially in the in the tantra based systems, it's all about power. It's all about gaining control over the nature, controlling something. But whereas in a spiritual system, it's all about refining and going away from that control. And it is all about bringing the right value and the right essence into life, right? And the right skill. So when we have the skill, that it automatically the fear of survival disappears. That's why this whole aspect of the karma yoga part means fulfilling all our duties with all our heart, and 100% we have to give to it. That is why it is very essential to understand our duties and attend to them with all 100% brings that confidence. When we achieve that with the external life, then the inner self also grows into that freshness. It doesn't require control anymore. That means it let go the power. Once the mind let goes the power, it let goes all the fear, everything. So this is when the surrender begins. So think of the freshness a person walking in the blazing sun would feel after a bath in the cool waters of a river. So the flavor of peace at the eighth chakra rejuvenates you with that freshness. Although the journey you experience at a regular intervals. So after the journey at the first chakra, you enjoy peace. When you land at the second, similarly, tied from the aftermath of emotions at the third chakra, you feel refreshing peace when you enter the fourth, the water chakra. Now, again, after the ecstasy of the power of the seventh chakra, and like we read, there's so much power at the seventh chakra and the sixth chakra. In fact, we skip the sixth point completely. We don't stay longer because that's the power center. So, this power has this lull, it attracts you, it keeps you there. These are all the traps in spirituality. So, we have to uh, somehow the system, once you are able to guide yourself properly and take the guidance from the teacher, you are able to overcome these traps. So when you hit the high pitch of the peace at the eighth chakra, it is as if the nature designed the journey with pit stops. So besides rest and rejuvenation, is there any special reason why the journey is designed this way? Okay, let's try to answer this question in our next reading next Saturday. All right, I'll stop here for any questions. Otherwise, we can get into meditation. And we have Yogesh. Yogesh, if you can conduct the session today.
Jitha, give me a couple of minutes. I'll
Okay.
be
So in the meantime, let's wait for any comments and questions.